When I first started watching Black Bullet, I felt that this was a series that had potential to it because it did things that I liked, such as being set in a fantasy world, having this giant creatures that everybody's afraid of and only a few are fighting against, and then there are these mysterious characters, and it really did things that made me want to continue watching, such as having interesting and mysterious characters that I wanted to learn more about, also having this interesting world that I wanted to learn about the backstory, and also with the great fights as well. Plus, it did have some pretty decent comedy in the first few episodes, but then for the next 12 episodes, I felt that they just sat there and spat all over this potential that I thought that they would have had, because the first few episodes, they're pretty good, and the last few episodes, they're pretty good as well, and occasionally you'll get a good episode in between, but for the most part, I felt that the middle of the series, they really changed the direction completely and went this different path altogether that simply was not interesting. The characters weren't really all that interesting, they were mostly one-dimensional, but as I was about halfway through watching Black Bullet, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this is only 13 episodes, I want to learn more about this. I don't think we're going to get all the questions answered that I have about this series, but after I finished it, it's 13 episodes, and I don't think that this should be longer. To be honest with you, I don't think they knew what to do with 13 episodes to begin with. This could have been a 4-episode long OVA. Sure, they would have had to toss a lot of stuff out, but they would have tossed out a lot of these boring episodes with these characters that you don't really care about. So there are some people out there that do like Black Bullet, and I don't really have a problem with that, but I want to ask you, honestly, are you settling for this and saying that it's alright? Sure, it's an alright series, but don't you think it could have been better than it was? Don't you think they could have actually had developing characters? And the story did develop, so I can't really fault it at that, but I really felt that a lot of the characters really weren't going anywhere, and they could have just stayed on the path that they were going in the beginning of the story throughout the entire series here, and it would have been better. What I'm talking about here is in the beginning, we see that Rintaro, who is a civil service agent, it goes back into his past and showing how pretty much everything was being destroyed when he was younger because there was this giant creature flying by just destroying everything, and then fast forward, he's a civil service agent and he's a great martial artist. He's going around with one of these cursed children who is half Gastrian and also half human, who has the power to defeat the Gastrians. If she does it too much, then she can transform into one herself and they'll have to kill her, kind of like Claymore style. They're going around and fighting these monsters and they're trying to kill them all so that they can save everyone. But the focus of the story changes from him and his partner fighting these monsters and trying to save the world overall to him trying to save each and every one of these cursed children and trying to become this big brother for them, all of them, and I really didn't care for that. And one thing that I really liked about the first episode or two of Black Bullet was this Joker character that we get introduced to, who just comes in and out of random episodes and is so OP. He can block bullets by putting this barrier up and just smash people through walls. He's really powerful, a lot more powerful than he looks, and he's a very interesting and mysterious character. He wears this mask, and I wanted to see more of him, not only because he's so strong, but just because he's so mysterious, and I wanted to learn his backstory. They kind of do explain something about his backstory here, but it's something that you really would have to infer that it's about him, but they didn't really focus as much on him as I would like them to. They mostly focused on Rintaro going around and being a big brother to all these cursed children. So moving on to some of my pet peeves with this anime, which aren't just personal problems that I have with it, but these are things that are very cliche, that are pretty much borderline plot holes, and also things that would make any anime less enjoyable just for having them there. First of all, Rintaro, there's a lot of these fake or simulated choices that he'll have to make where he doesn't really have to face any threat at all because he's pretty much plot protected. Like, for example, he gets his arm and leg blown off, not because he is incapable of fighting against the Joker guy, just because he gets them blown off so that he can become stronger. Secondly, he faces death numerous times, but there's always something that kind of, this safety net for him. Like, he's given these syringes. First of all, he was given a packet of syringes. There were probably like 8 syringes there. Each syringe would heal a wound on him that had a 25% chance of turning him into a Gastria. How do they even have it so the Gastria and human cells can temporarily mix, but then they don't really have a lasting effect, just long enough to heal? I feel that that's very convenient for the plot. Secondly, each of these syringes had a 25% chance of turning him into one of these monsters, and that's irreversible. He takes all like 5 or 6 of them and just jams them into himself, which would have easily been enough to overdose him and turn him into one of these things, but of course it heals him, which he had like a hole going through his body, and he's fine. He didn't transform or anything. He was okay, and he came out stronger because of it, just because. Also, there were a few other times in the series where he was supposed to make a big choice, one of them being this self-sacrifice choice, but then other people kind of step up and take the bullet, and I really felt that he was a plot-protected character. Another thing that I didn't like about the character of Rintaro was that he was such a badass in certain times that he will rip his arm off, load it into a cannon, and shoot it at a massive creature to kill it, but he is too afraid to hold a girl's hand. Even when she tells him to hold her hand, he's still too afraid to do that, but he would rip his arm off and launch it out of a cannon at a monster. There was one character here that he had more than 3 chances with, where she was basically throwing herself at him, and he kind of just steps down because he's afraid, and it's not like if he would have given in, it would have turned into a big hentai like you would see with a lot of other series, like, say for example, with Golden Boy, or with some other anime where characters kind of just run away at the sight of having sex with a woman. This isn't having sex. This isn't even kissing. This is holding hands, and he's backing down from that. This is just holding hands. It's not sex. It's not kissing or anything. This is worse than Witchcraft Works, where you have the main character who is too afraid to kiss a girl to save her life. We've got a guy here who can't even hold a girl's hand. Another big pet peeve of mine is when there's so much melodrama, which isn't really backed by anything in the story. When you've got dramatic moments in a story, and you've got terrible, over-the-top things that happen to some characters, you've got to care about them, or else it's kind of pointless, like with most of the cursed children here, or with some of the other characters here as well. You'll kind of just meet them, and they will have so many over-the-top problems in their life. Like, say for example, Rintaro meets this homeless cursed girl who is on the side of the road. She's blind, and she's got a change cup, and she's shaking it, and people are throwing in things that sound like money, but they aren't. She's just thankful for that because she thinks she has money, but she doesn't. And he walks by, and he starts talking to her, being the big brother and all, which he tries to do for everybody in the middle of the series here. He asked her what's wrong with her eyes, and she shows him. You don't get to see it or anything, but she poured molten lead in her eyeballs because her mommy didn't like her red eyes because she was a cursed children. And that, first of all, you just meet this character. Secondly, there's really nothing that this character does for the entire show here that makes you care about her, so it's just melodrama. They're trying to force you to care about this character, and then there are other worse things that happen to her too. Then there are characters here that they try to make you care for, but then again, they're really boring characters. Like, there was one of the cursed children who couldn't even stay awake the whole time, which I really felt that they were just trying to make you feel for her just because she was a cute character, which I admit she was, but didn't make me care about her. She was there the whole time, or like in the daytime, she was so sleepy that she couldn't stay awake. She would fall asleep eating food, and she would just down entire bottles of caffeine pills, and it wouldn't do any help for her. But then there were times that she would turn into this like unstoppable villain that they would have to stop. But anyways, I really felt that they had a poor choice in not only some of the ways that they portrayed some of these cursed children, not that I've read the book or anything, but I think they could have done better with that, and also some of the other characters as well. So moving on to the ending here, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say things that I liked or didn't like, or talk about brief, vague things, just so that you don't get spoiled for this, just in case you do want to watch it, because I'm not going to want to ruin anybody's experience with that. But with the ending here, no doubt about it, the ending is rushed with this. They could have did a lot better if they had moved the beginning of this final part of the story back to maybe like halfway through, because they only have 13 episodes, and they wait until maybe like the last 3 to really try and get this ball rolling. So you've got this big character change within Rintaro, who just steps up to the plate and becomes a real man and a complete badass. So I really did like that part about the ending to it. There was a lot of action in the end where they're fighting against more monsters, and that's really something that I felt was lacking through the series, because they took this the middle of the story out where they're not fighting all these gastria. There are times when we'll see one, but it's really dealt with quickly. They deal with the bleeding heart for all of these cursed children a lot more than they deal with these monsters, which is the main focus of the story from episode 1 to begin with, trying to kill these monsters and save the world. But we see a lot of that in the ending to it. And one thing that I didn't like about the ending was that it really cuts a lot of the action short. That's why I'm saying it's rushed. Everything else with the ending, that was pretty good, because we did have a lot of wrap-ups with the characters, and we see a lot of conclusion to it, where some characters do change, but still I felt that it was rushed, and they pretty much killed the series by making the middle of it the way that it is, because it did have potential. I like the series, and it's not like it's a bad series altogether and there's nothing to enjoy here. There were things to enjoy, but they completely dropped the ball by messing with the middle of it this way. Moving on to the overall presentation, talking about the animation here, this was a beautiful anime as far as the animation goes, but this is 2014. Any run-of-the-mill anime is going to look beautiful for the most part now, so this really, it looked good, but it didn't do anything out of the ordinary that you would expect in 2014, which isn't really a problem because it did in the end look good. As far as the animation of the fights goes, they really did the fights great with the monsters. They animated the monsters great, they animated the fights great. There wasn't any like frame rate issues or anything with that. I like the way that they animated the monsters, but there were times that I didn't really care for the use of CG here. I didn't really care for that, but it was a minor thing. It didn't really overpower the overall animation here, so that was really a minor issue. As far as the music goes, to be honest with you, because I got sour with the series halfway through, the opening, I liked it at first, but then I kind of got tired of it halfway through, and the rest of it wasn't really that memorable. As far as the voice acting goes here, I felt that they did a great job with the voice acting. Of course, as of right now, there is no English dub to this, but I think I would probably like this more with an English dub to it, even if it's not really all that great. That way I can just relax and watch it and have a better experience, not having to be glued and reading all these subtitles about events that I frankly do not care for, especially in the middle, like I've stated numerous times. So overall, if I were to rate this, I would give this about a 5.5, because it did some things that I liked, and it did have some potential to it, but then it really did set itself back by the middle of this, and also adding so many cliche elements to this that really overall hurt the experience for me. If you've seen Black Bullet, then let me know your thought about this as well. Personally, I don't think that there's going to be a second season to this. If there was, I wouldn't watch it. If you are interested in any of the things that I've said today, or if you've got a little sister complex and you might like it, just go ahead and check it out. But let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, and also I'm curious to know what you think if you've read the light novels. Let me know how they compare. Let me know if this is an accurate adaptation of the light novel or not. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to, of course, subscribe, like, comment, and also share it with your friends. I really appreciate all that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.